Well, right on cue, joining us on the Office Furniture Source.biz hotline, the great Kevin Nealon. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on today.
Oh, are you kidding? To be on the Office Supply.com? It's amazing.
I mean, this is, I'm sure, going to go right on your Wikipedia page.
I can't believe it. I've always wanted to get to this level.
Kevin, let me ask you something. What do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy performing more like in TV shows like Weeds or the movie when you had the role in Happy Gilmore, or did you like more like the SNL live performing and even stand-up stuff?
Well, I'm lucky because I get to do all that stuff. I get to do stand-up and film and TV and writing and stuff. So I don't get bored of one thing. I think if I had to just do film, I would get bored, or SNL, I get bored. But I did like the SNL thing because it was so immediate and it was live and there was so much energy, in that room.
What's it like, Kevin, going out and kind of having this reunion tour with Dennis and Dana Carvey? And by the way, if you guys are interested in watching these guys next Saturday night at the Allen Event Center, tickets are still available. Who came up with this idea, and what is it like kind of getting the band back together?
Well, we did this tour about 26 years ago.
Yeah.
After our first season on SNL, we went out and we did about a 30-city tour that Swatch sponsored. And that was fun. And then, we all had our lives. We have families now and different, shows. And we're in different places in our life. And Dennis thought it would be a good idea for us. It might be fun to go out and just do a couple of gigs, which is what we're doing, just for old time's sake. And it's been a lot of fun.
Kevin, I remember seeing you a couple times. I saw you on that tour. I was much younger then. But I remember you were on that tour with Dennis and Dana was kind of at the peak of his popularity. And all you guys were sort of morphing into something what you would eventually become. Did you have sort of any idea that the three of you would go on to lead such long, lucrative careers? Did you see any signs of that, or were you too young and naive to know what was potentially out there for you?
Well, yes and no. I think when you're younger like that, you have high hopes for the future, and you think you're only at the beginning of your career, and big things are coming, which they have come. And then there's also that part of you that thinks, I better strike when the iron's hot, because this may not last forever. And so I was kind of from both schools on that.
Kevin Nealon joining us on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin, I grew up a diehard Saturday Night Live fan. My favorite Kevin Nealon bit, Mr. Subliminal. How did it come about? What's the background behind that story? And then how did you incorporate it then into actually putting it together for a skit?
Well, that was a fun. That was one of my first skits I ever did on Saturday Night Live. Pain in the ass. It was one of those sketches that, just it kind of it just flowed, and bad choice. But I like doing it. I came up with that. Actually, a friend of mine, he's a character actor. When I first moved out to Los Angeles, he was a character actor. He was on a lot. He played the cop on a lot of shows like Laverne and Shirley and things like that in a very deep voice. And he took a liking to me, and we'd go out to Cantor's Delicatessen sometimes after the nightclub, the comedy clubs closed in L.A. And one night he goes, "I'm going to do a thing called tagging. Listen very closely. I'll be doing it to the waitress." And he would do this thing called tagging to the waitress, where he would slip in these profane words, well, he was ordering. I think I'll have the Knish soup, please, bitch. And why don't you also give me, So, we took that, and when I was in SNL, he gave me my blessings to do it. And but we turned it into a subliminal thing where you say words to get your way.
Love it.
Which I studied in college. I went to school for marketing. I have a BS in marketing. So I knew of subliminal advertising.
Nice.
And it was the first sketch I ever did on SNL. And I remember about to go out and do it, and it was difficult because you're doing two conversations at once,
Yeah.
And it's already nerve-wracking to be on that live show. And I remember Lorne Michaels being right next to me, and just before, 5 seconds before the cameras were going to roll and I was going to go out, he goes, "Are you sure this is what you want?"
Kevin, of all the characters you played on SNL and on movies and all the famous lines you delivered, what's the one when people see you on the street that they come up and immediately say to you first?
Well, a lot of it's like Hans and Franz, hello,
Yeah.
Billy, man, we want to pump you up. Hear me now, believe me later. I could judge your love handles into a bag, and you could climb into the bag and carry yourself out to the trash. I get a lot when I'm golfing. I hear a lot of Feel the Flow, Happy Gilmore stuff.
That was gonna be my favorite one. Circular. It's all good block energy, bad. And then
Yeah.
my favorite performance, and I'm younger than the other two crotchety old men on the show with me, but my favorite performance you've ever done was on Grandma's Boy when you're their boss at the video game place, and you're like, "Where do you get your weed?" From you, Dante. That was probably my favorite character you ever did.
Yeah, I hear that a lot in clubs. People calling out Grandma's Boy.
Well,
That was a Sandler produced thing, which I didn't want to do at first because it was so lowbrow, And then Sandler called me and goes, "Nealon, I hope you do this because if you don't, it's a big hit. I'll be sad you're not in it. But if it is a big hit, if it's not a big hit, then nobody will see it anyway, So I said, okay, I'll do it.
Is it true that that you and Dana Carvey were nervous about Schwarzenegger being upset with your send up of him on that character, and that when you
Oh, sure.
was that true? So when you met him, and was it his idea? Whose idea was it for him to come on the show and make that cameo between the two of you when he did that? He did the whole flex thing and all that stuff. Whose idea was that?
I believe that was his idea. He loved the characters, and Dana and I thought, why would he want to come on the show? We're making fun of him. Then we thought he's coming on the show to kill us.
So
and
what was?
When he came to the set, the first thing he said to us, we were scared. He goes, "Hello, fellas. Now, how am I supposed to do the accent?"
Nice.
Well. I mean, do you still watch the show now, Kevin? Are you a bit of a connoisseur? Do you?
Yeah, I don't watch it every week. I TiVo it like everybody else, and then I'll try and catch it. If I heard it's good or something.
Well, then you hear all the time whether or not, SNL sucks. It's not there anymore. It's not as good as when you and Phil and Dana or anybody else, Will Ferrell was doing it.
Yeah, but those guys got that too.
Did you guys get that?
too.
Because I thought when you guys were doing it, everybody thought, the show was enjoying a renaissance and it was coming back. How do you remember that? And do you think that's sort of a fair observation, Kevin?
Well, I do hear that a lot from people saying that, the group I was with was, like their favorite years. But I'm sure the other cast members from more the current cast probably get that too, But I met Chevy Chase a long time ago when I first met him. He goes, people don't remember this, but even in the original first 5 years of the show, 1 out of every 3 shows was good. But people don't remember the bad shows.
Well, Kevin, we're a sports talk radio station here in Dallas. And by the way, if you joined us late, Kevin Nealon from Saturday Night Live fame joining us on the air right now. He's promoting an comedy event next Saturday night, October 19th. Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, and Kevin will be out at the Allen Event Center. Tickets are still available if you go to alleneventcenter.com. So we're a sports talk radio show. That means we always have polls and lists and all-time greats. So I want to ask you, if you were to put together your Mount Rushmore of Saturday Night Live all-time players, who's on that Fab Four? Who are the 4 guys, in your opinion, that are by far head and shoulders above everybody else?
Guys or girls?
Overall cast members, then. Yeah, let's throw it out there.
From the whole
38 years, which of the 4 would you say? Yeah, these guys are the top 4 Hall of Famers of that sport.
Well, me.
Right.
That's one.
I think that's
Well,
where his list ended.
I'm partial to John Belushi and Bill Murray, from the original cast. I think Dana Carvey was great. Jan Hooks was always such a great comedic sketch actress. I think a lot of people overlook her when they think of SNL, but she was just amazing. It's hard to put just 4 in there. Amy Poehler was great. Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig. Can we make it more of a Veterans Memorial instead of Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, it almost has to be.
Right.
It almost has to be, and it is really hard because you look at the players. And Eddie Murphy was a guy that I remembered when I was a kid. Eddie was unbelievably funny back then. Not so much anymore. I failed at the Mr. Subliminal thing. But Eddie was unbelievable watching Eddie Murphy back then. And then Billy Crystal only had 1 year. So we were kind of tossing this around last night at the bar. And, names were flying out left and right. But, you forget even, Chris Farley and David Spade. And
Martin Short. You just can't pick 4. It's like, it's like, I don't know. I don't even have an analogy for that.
Was that a show? Was that a hard show for you to leave? And was it
No, because I'd been there for 9 seasons, so I was ready to move on.
Was it scary or intimidating at all? Because you had that regular gig and now you're stepping it. Was that intimidating at all?
Not really. I could see where it could be, but for me at the time it wasn't because, like I said, I'd been there for 9 seasons and I was ready to go on. I had actually a sitcom I was going to. It was the first DreamWorks sitcom that they were producing, and Gary David Goldberg, who's a great writer, director, he recently passed away, but he had a show called Champs, which is a really good show with me and Tim Busfield and Paul McCrane and a few other people. But, I mean, it was really well written. And, unfortunately, it didn't go the distance, but, I had that to go to, so I wasn't that nervous.
Do guys, are comics and comedians almost like sports players? And I brought up Eddie Murphy a couple seconds ago, but do guys almost lose their game when they get older and time? I mean, Steve Martin's obviously in a class of his own, but have you seen over time where guys get less funny when they reach certain stages of their life?
Wow, that's a real good question. I think maybe like anybody, they lose energy, and a lot of people think that, working on the road and doing the clubs is a young man's game. So, and that's where you kind of build your material and your following. So maybe in a sense that's true, but I do think there are exceptions. Steve Martin, certainly, George Carlin was another one. And then you get a lot of these guys like Rodney Dangerfield. And I think it depends on how much heat you have on you. It's harder, I think, to get heat on you as you get older if you don't already have it. But you're probably right.
Kevin Nealon joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. I want to talk about a couple things you've done in the last couple months. First up, what was your experience like on the one episode you were on, The League, where you were basically a porn mogul?
Well, anytime you have an opportunity to play a porn mogul, you take it.
And what is the next show that you're coming out with, Racquetball? What is that going to be all about?
Racquetball is like an independent project I did. I don't think they know whether it was going to be a web series or a TV show or what. So that was a fun one to do. I shot 2 nights doing that one, night shoot, so I don't really remember much from it.
Nice.
I have a couple films coming out. I have one called Walk of Shame with Elizabeth Banks coming out in March, and then another one I just got back from South Africa with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. We did a film called A Family Moon, which will be out in May.
Nice. Well, Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. I don't know if you know, but right now the big Texas OU college football game is going on. So this was perfect for everybody who's not interested in that game. So thank you so much for coming
You're
on.
welcome.
Especially
The last time I saw it on TV about 20 minutes ago. It was 23-10.
It's 36-20 now. Texas is leading,
Yeah.
so your bet is ruined.
So we gave all the non-sports fans something to talk about. And then I even had a buddy last night that said, wouldn't it be a great practical joke on Kevin if you just had him on for the whole 4 hours and kept the interview going? And at some point, would you have said to us, hey, man, how long am I going to be on the phone with you guys?
Another quarter.
We got about 3 minutes left, Kevin. But no, we appreciate your time. And thank you so much for everything. And definitely check Kevin out next Saturday night in Allen.
My pleasure, man. I can't wait.